Welcome everyone to the Hutchinson City Council meeting for Tuesday, April 27th, 2021. We'll call the meeting to order. Approve council agenda. Any agenda additions or corrections? Do you have anything, Matt?
Mayor, Council, we do have one request to add a resolution number 15307. I think everyone should have received a copy of that. It's regarding council members and the wearing of masks. So if you want to add that, that would be the last agenda item under new business.
Entertain a motion to approve the agenda with the addition.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda with the addition.
I'll second.
Motion by Chad, second by Mary to approve with the addition. Roll call. Dave? Mary?
Aye.
Chad?
Aye.
Brandon?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Invocation is from Hope Family Church. Good evening.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Pastor Tim Vanden Langenberg from Hope Family Church. I noticed something the other day when I was getting ready for the day. I noticed my hair is starting to turn a little gray. And you may not have noticed that, but I share that just to tell you that I decided I'm going to get a little older. And with that, sometimes as we get older, we think that exempts us from service. We think, well, we've done our time, we'll be done. And then I read the story of Joshua, who was in his 80s and after 40 years of following Moses was handed the reins of leadership. And God had one command for him, and I want to share that with you. God said, "Have I not commanded you? Be strong and of good courage. Do not be afraid, nor be dismayed, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go." And so I pray that over you as individuals, as a council. I pray that over every department in this city, that we would be blessed with courage and integrity, with honor and goodness, so that as you serve, we all would be blessed. In the name of Jesus, amen.
Thank you, Pastor Tim. Next is Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise. And I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Recognitions of gifts, donations, and community service. Does anyone have anything tonight? I do want to take a moment and, I don't know the gentleman's name, but actually in my travels around the city, I seen him out picking up garbage along the road. Came by the shop and went down Michigan, and actually seen him out by Applebee's. So whoever the gentleman is, I'd like to thank him for trying to make our city a little more better. So just want to recognize that. We do have resolution number 15298. Resolution accepting $50 donation from Bruce and Gladys Lickfeld for the Law Enforcement Memorial Park Fund. Entertain a motion to accept that donation.
I'd make a motion to accept that gracious donation.
I'll second that.
Motion by Dave, second by Brandon. Any other discussion? If not, roll call. Dave?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
Chad?
Aye.
Brandon?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Public comment. Matt, is there anyone that wants to address the council?
Don't see anybody in here.
Alrighty, we have, approval of minutes. We have the regular meeting minutes of April 13th, 2021.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second that.
Motion by Mary, second by Dave to approve the minutes of April 13th, 2021. Roll call, Dave? Mary?
Aye.
Chad?
Aye.
Brandon?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Consent agenda, this will be done with one motion unless somebody pulls something off for discussion. A is approval of resolution number 15297, resolution for traffic control device removal of parking restrictions on Leah Avenue Southwest. B is approval of purchase of Public Works secondary bucket truck. C is approval of purchase of sanitary sewer manhole lining. D is approval of purchase of water treatment plant number 7, operation recovery cleaning. E is approval of additional fee requested purpose from Mold Architects and Engineering for additional work related to the new police station. F is approval of issuing short-term gambling license to St. Anastasia Catholic Church on May 7th, 2021. G is approval of items for First Avenue Southeast improvement, letting number 10, project number 21-10. And under there, we have a resolution number 15299, resolution ordering preparation for report on improvements, and resolution number 15300, resolution receiving reports and calling for hearing on improvement. F is approval of resolution number 15303, resolution adopting finding of facts and reason for approval of conditional use permit and site plan review for Civil Air Patrol training facility located at 840 Airport Road Southwest with favorable planning commission recommendation. I is approval of resolution number 15304, resolution adopting finding of facts and reason for approval of the final plat for Century Court West with favorable planning commission recommendation. J is approval of resolution number 15305, resolution adopting finding of facts and reason for approval of the preliminary plat and conditional use permit to amend the planning development district at South Fork Ridge, 4th edition with favorable planning commission recommendation. And K is claims, appropriations, and contract payments. Is there anything that anybody wants pulled off for discussion?
Mayor, I would like to have item J removed. We have a revised resolution that was handed out tonight.
Entertain a motion to approve the balance.
I'll make a motion to approve the balance.
I'll second.
Motion by Chad, second by Mary to approve the balance of the consent agenda. Any other discussions? If not, roll call. Dave?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
Chad?
Aye.
Brandon?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Matt?
Maybe I'll just hand it over to Dan. I know he's on just to touch on it. I think it was just a minor adjustment to that resolution.
Sure. At the planning commission meeting last week, we talked about parking on the private street that will be out at South Fork 4th Edition. And at that time, we didn't know for sure if parking would work on that street or not. So late last week, the fire chief and I went out to the site and verified that fire truck would fit down that street with parking on one side. So at this point, the fire chief and I are recommending that parking be allowed on the inside portion of that private street that the development will be on. And we think that'll be good for the area because that way folks are not having to walk a super long distance if they have guests and things over. So we've revised the resolution to include that parking on the inside, and I would recommend that the council approve that.
Hey, Dan?
Yes.
I would like you to reiterate to the public that those streets and the utilities are private and that they are responsible of the developer.
Yes, out in that development, right now it's the kind of southerly portion of that development, South Fork Ridge. There's a private street in there that's yet to be named that the developer is proposing to build 19 patio type homes on, either single or twin. It's yet to be determined on exactly what it'll be, probably mainly single family. And that those streets and utilities are private. The developer is well aware of that and is accepting of that. Just wanted to make that clear that that is the case.
Thank you. On that note, you need a motion for that
Yeah, we need a
resolution?
motion to approve that resolution. Yep.
All right, I'll make a motion for resolution 15305.
I second it.
All right, motion by Mary, second by Dave to approve resolution number 15305. Any other discussion? If not, roll call. Dave?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
Chad?
Aye.
Brandon?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. We do have a public hearing, but we're gonna jump ahead to item number 13. First reading of ordinance number 21-822. Ordinance amending section 154.024 and section number 154.116 of the city code regarding encroachment and construction and maintenance of parking lots.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. You recall several projects we've had here in the last few years that have had parking lots that need to be built. And some of those we've had questions whether or not people need to put curb and gutter on those parking lots. And it's always been city staff opinion that when a new parking lot is constructed, that curb and gutter is required to convey stormwater appropriately. And we just wanted to put that actually in writing. It kind of was implied that that was the case, but we wanted to note it in writing so that people were well aware of what the city's intentions are relative to parking lots. A lot of that has to do with some of the permitting we go through the state for stormwater to make sure we're treating it appropriately and it's not just going wherever. So worked with planning staff, engineering staff to make sure that that was addressed appropriately. And the ordinance, you can see in your packet there, just clarifies a few things, makes the language a little simpler for people to understand. The next piece that we're clarifying is a different section of the ordinance, and that is relative to easements near stormwater ponds. Right now, our ordinance allows for retaining walls in easement areas, and it's just simple as that, in easement areas. And staff believes the intention of that was to have potentially retaining walls in between homes when there's a grade change, and there's a lot of that around town where folks need to have a retaining wall just to separate their property due to grade changes. However, last fall we had one that you might recall that somebody built a wall down along one of our stormwater ponds. And we were able to kind of mitigate the situation through a conditional use permit. However, staff feels that allowing retaining walls within our easement areas near ponds is not a great idea. So we've clarified that to not allow those walls near our stormwater facilities. So if you have any questions, let me know. This is the first reading of that ordinance. Obviously, it'll come back to council again and need to be published before it's official.
Any questions for Dan? If not, entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve it.
I'll second it. Motion by Chad, second by myself to approve ordinance, first reading of ordinance 21-822. Any other discussion? If not, roll call. Dave?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
Chad?
Aye.
Brandon?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Thanks, Dan.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Matt,
If you want, you can just head back to item number 9. Like I said, we still have roughly, I think, 13 minutes before we hit the public hearing portion. So if you want,
All
you
right.
can head back to the top of new business and we can just work our way down till we get to 6
All right.
o'clock.
sounds good. New business, resolution number 15306, resolution approving plans and specification ordering advertisement for bids on the new police station project.
Mayor and council, I think it was probably about a month or so ago, we looked at some of our, I think we looked at the site plan and some of the early layouts of the new police station. And I guess we're getting to that phase now where we're getting ready to bid this project out. And so what's in front of you tonight for consideration is a resolution that would approve the plans and specs and then authorize the advertisement for bids. If that resolution is approved tonight, the project will go out for bids on May 7th, which I think is next Friday, with the deadline being June 10th. And that aligns with the timeline regarding our bonding and the requirements for any 30-day reverse referendum on that. I'm assuming everything continues to move us forward. We'd be looking to officially act on bids at our June 22nd city council meeting. I do have our construction manager and our architects are online. If you do have any questions for them, I'm not going to, I didn't include the full set of plans because I figured 300 and some pages or whatever they are, wasn't going to be for everyone to want to sift through. And so we kind of just did a summary of it. And so what I'll probably do is just share my computer and I'll highlight the kind of the site plan layout and then also just the layout of the floor plan of the building for the council here. Yeah. So all of this whole packet is within your all this information within your city council packet. Obviously, it's just introduction from John McNamara, our engineer, and goes through some of the guiding principles upon when we first started this project, what we were hoping to obtain within this new facility, focusing on our functions and operations, sustainability, community pride, and personal recruitment. And then the police department had 4 principles too that they were hoping to obtain within this new building, which includes, security for staff and the public, co-locatable departments, obviously covered vehicle parking, and we've talked on that before regarding with all the new equipment that's within those vehicles, and then evidence processing improvements. And we believe the design and the layout has met all those needs and desires of the city. The document goes through the various different square footage that the building that's being currently planned for the building. I don't need to go through each and every one of those step by step. Like I said, I wanted to highlight this is what the most up-to-date site plan looks like. We've actually submitted and obtained our permit from the county on our access to Adams Street. And so that's been addressed and taken care of. Once again, this is just for kind of the eastern half of that lot. We'll still have some design work to do on the area west of what we're calling the extension of Jefferson. Not a whole lot has changed since you guys have last seen that site plan layout. Obviously the plans identify, we're going to be demolishing the current building, and a part of that, I think there's approximately 1,300 square feet that are going to be added to the liquor store. And this plan just shows that, and that was more or less, once again, kind of identifying the best spot possible to kind of disconnect, if you want to say, that building from the liquor store, which did allow for some additional space, which is mainly going to be electrical and mechanical space for the liquor store. And then once again, this is kind of the main level of the floor plan, just highlighting everything from the lobby to patrol to EOC, administration, investigations, and obviously the fleet services that are within that. So not a whole lot has changed since we had our workshop roughly about a month ago, but I did want to provide an opportunity if the council had any questions for myself or for John or Paige or Pete, that you can go ahead and ask that now. Otherwise, staff would recommend that the council approve the resolution, approving the plans and specs and ordering the advertisement for bids.
Matt, Dave, will you back up your, what you had on the screen and show us the overlay
Sure.
of the parking lot, please?
Okay. Is that the site layout you're talking about?
Yes, it shows the parking lot.
Yep. Right there.
Yep, yes, thank you. I just, a question came to mind that may have been asked before, I don't recall it. Where are the police officers that are driving into work, where are they going to park?
It'll be the back end area of the police department. There'll be the space
Okay.
in between the liquor store and the new police station.
Secure parking.
Yep, a secured parking area.
All right, thank you. I don't know if we talked about it before, but I don't recall it, so thanks.
Mhm.
John, how is getting materials on your other projects been going? Is there a lull in getting, structural steel and stuff, or is that kind of catching up now?
Here, that's probably more of a question for Pete, our construction manager. So,
Okay.
unless John wants to, John, you can add in too. I'm sorry.
Well,
So.
John, I always thought that John was the go-to guy, so.
Mayor. Pete can certainly add on to this as well. We are still planning on a traditional construction method of using steel bar joists and decking for the facility. We've had some trouble getting those materials for some projects here in the last couple of months due to some of the procurement that others have been doing in order to get this project. So we have looked at that and made the decision to continue on with the bar joist and decking, given that our need for that material is still a ways out for that. I don't know, Pete, if you want to add to that, but that's kind of where we're at with the project.
Yeah, the last 6 weeks or so, the material's gotten very volatile. It's been a variety of things, like John alluded to. The steel has been kind of the main thing. Just this last week now, actually, as of yesterday, we're finding the lead times on the precast concrete extending out there. But at the same time, we're listening to a lot of contractors where the labor market's tight. So I still think there's going to be good competition. We're just going to have to adjust these schedules accordingly and keep this thing on track.
All right, thank you. Go ahead, Marion, sorry.
Well, I like how the new parking lot looks like where the liquor store is, but how many parking spaces will there now be for the liquor store?
Within that designated area, I believe there are 16 or 17. I think there's 16. Yeah, 16 or 7 designated parking lots within that area just directly west of the liquor store. And then on top of that, you're going to have parking on one side of the road available on Jefferson. And then I think, part of what we wanted to be able to see is how does that work out before we really kind of get into what the western half of that lot, which would be west of Jefferson, will look like in the future. And I know I've had a couple of conversations with Candace too. Obviously, that parking lot that's west of the DMV can be used for overflow if need be, especially on nights and weekends.
Good. Thank you.
Any other questions? Otherwise, we'll entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make a
I'll
motion.
make a, oh, go ahead, Mary.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I will second it.
Motion by Mary, second by Chad to approve. Any other discussion? Not, roll call. Dave?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
Chad?
Aye.
Brandon?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, Pete, John. Gary still got about couple minutes, so if you wanted to jump to number 10, we can address that.
All right. Awarding Creekside Wood Receiving Processing Area Pipe Extension Project.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. This pipe extension project's been on the radar here for the last few years. As Creekside's business continues to grow, so does our need for space. And as you very well may know, we're essentially landlocked out there, not able to expand into the adjacent property. So we're just looking to essentially utilize the property within the current site. So as mentioned in the board action form, if this project is approved, we'd gain approximately 1 acre, 0.8 of an acre to be exact. Kind of put that in perspective, we would gain approximately 15,000 yards worth of mulch storage capacity. And looking at the bigger picture, we process about 50 to 55,000 yards a year. So in a roundabout way, we would be gaining about 25% storage capacity with this project being completed. Another reasoning behind this project taking place would be to just essentially give us more breathing room back in that wood yard. I don't know if any of you are familiar with that back there, or have been out there in the late fall, winter, early spring months when we're more or less loaded up on materials being waiting for it to be processed in the springtime, but it gets pretty cramped back in that area. So this would certainly give us that breathing room we'd be looking for. This project was identified in the Compost Fund's Capital Improvement Fund project plan. We budgeted $100,000 for this specific project, not necessarily knowing what it was all going to entail moving forward. But with the assistance of the engineering department here, they came out, did the survey, and put the specs together on the project. And when their estimate came in at $173,000, we were on the verge of just dropping the project altogether. I mean, obviously with an increase such as that, it just wasn't going to be feasible. So needless to say, when the quotes came in, the lowest quote coming in just a little over 121,000, 30% below the engineer's estimate, we were pleasantly surprised. So I guess with that being said, we feel, even though it is still 21 grand over the budgeted amount, we feel that now is a good time, kind of more so for the reasons just talked about with the police department, is materials become a little more volatile and prices are most likely are only going to go up from here on out. So we feel it would be a good idea to jump on it now. So with that, I guess I'd happily answer any questions.
Just for the mayor and council, I did pull up the map, just kind of give you an idea where this work would take place. You can see it on their screen.
Yeah, and I will note the trees actually have been removed already. Donovan with forestry jumped on that project pretty quickly. So that obviously comes at essentially no cost to Creekside. So whether you approve the pipe install or not, the trees are already removed.
Any questions for Andy? Otherwise, entertain a motion to approve the project.
I'll make a motion to approve the project.
I'll second it. Motion by Chad, second by myself to approve Creekside project. Any other discussion? If not, roll call. Dave,
Aye.
Mary,
Aye.
Chad,
Aye.
Brandon.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Thanks, Andy.
Thank you.
Mayor and council, it is 6 o'clock, so if you'd like to jump back up to item number 8, you can do that now.
All right, public hearing, first reading of ordinance number 21-821, franchise agreement with Arts Place.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. As noted in the council packet, the city was approached by the new owners of what was the Nemitz Paint Building Arts Place, Compass Occasions, and they had approached the city about asking permission to use the sidewalk areas around the building for people who rent the facility for their various events. Something the city has done occasionally in the past. As you might remember, a franchise is basically the city granting permission for a private party to use public right-of-way. And they submitted a plan for the use of the sidewalks around the building. They anticipate having some outdoor seating, some planters, and perhaps some other activities that would accompany the events that occur at the building. They've submitted their proper insurance documents. The franchise is anticipated to last for a 5-year time period. As was required in previous franchise agreements per the city engineer's order, the agreement anticipates maintaining a 4-foot wide walkway so that people could move around on the sidewalk without interfering with the activities that might be taking place at the event center. Other than that, the agreement is basically the same as the ones that we've entered into with other businesses in town. Sonora's, Below Zero are a couple that come to mind. So unless there's any questions, I'd ask that you open the hearing to any public comment, and if there isn't any comment, to approve the agreement and the first reading of the ordinance.
All right, we'll open for public comment.
Mayor, I don't see anybody in the council chambers who would wish to address the city council.
Motion to close the public hearing.
Short and sweet, I make a motion to close it.
I'll second that.
Motion by Dave, second by Brandon to close the public hearing. Roll call, Dave,
Aye.
Mary,
Aye.
Chad,
Aye.
Brandon.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Entertain a motion to approve the ordinance.
This is the first reading, Mayor. So you're on mute, so whatever you're yelling at me, I can't hear you. So
That's good. We'll just leave it at that. All right, thanks, Matt. All right, we can go to number 11.
So Mayor, you still need to take a vote on the action item on approving the first reading. So.
All right. That's what I meant to say, right? Okay. Call a motion, Dave,
Aye.
Mary,
Aye.
So,
Chad.
Gary?
Yeah.
Sorry to back up. Nobody made a motion and nobody
Yeah.
seconded it, so. You're way ahead of the schedule, so.
All right, let's back up. Who wants to make a motion to approve the first reading?
There you go.
I will make that motion to approve the first reading.
We'll second that.
All right, motion by Mary, second by Brandon to approve the first reading. Now roll call. Dave,
Aye.
Mary,
Aye.
Chad,
Aye.
Brandon,
Aye.
aye. Thanks for making me feel at home, Matt.
Time.
All right. Now we can go to 11.
Number 11, yep.
All righty. Resolution number 15301, resolution declaring the official intent of the city of Hutchinson to reimburse certain expenditures from the proceeds of the bonds to be issued by the city. Mr. Reed, how are you tonight?
Hey, I'm doing well. How are you guys doing?
Outstanding.
Great. Well, thank you, sir. And this is just some housekeeping we do every year when we issue bonds. You know, we have a history of issuing bonds after projects have started. That gives us some efficiencies in having actual bid costs available, which gives us more exact bonding dollar amount rather than bonding based on estimates. So with that practice, though, we use our bond proceeds to reimburse costs already incurred. And in order to appease the IRS with their regulations, we need to approve this resolution that's in front of you tonight. That's basically saying we're going to use bond proceeds to reimburse ourselves for costs incurred. And it's a little higher than we normally see. In past years, the dollar amount of reimbursement is maybe in that $2.5 million range. This resolution has $16 million. And that's just being conservatively high, just knowing that we have several bonding projects this year, and namely the new police facility, which is going to really drive up our bonding proceeds this year. So I'm being conservative with the 16 million. We're going to come in under that, but this just protects us in the eyes of the IRS. So with that said, if there are no questions, I ask that you approve this resolution tonight.
Entertain a motion to approve the resolution.
I make a motion to approve it.
Second it.
Motion by Chad, second by Dave to approve the resolution. Roll call, Dave,
Aye.
Mary,
Aye.
Chad,
Aye.
Brandon.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Thanks, Andy. Number 12, resolution number 15302, resolution calling for a public hearing on proposed property tax abatement to finance public improvements.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. As you know, as we talked in the prior resolution, we issue bonds each year to finance our roadway and infrastructure improvements. And our typical bonding mechanism is issuing special assessment improvement bonds. And those are used for roadways where we're assessing property owners for a portion of the cost. And with that bonding tool, I guess I'd call it, we're limited to the amount of bonding or bond proceeds that we can generate based on the level of special assessments that we levy on the benefiting properties. And typically we generate enough special assessments to provide for enough bond proceeds to finance the entire costs of all the projects. However, this year we have some low assessment levels, and it's just not going to generate enough bond proceeds to finance the costs for all the projects. So we had to look at other mechanisms for bonding. And with state statutes, the main way to bond is to hold an election, put it on the November ballot, and have the voters approve it. But state statutes allow for exceptions to putting it on the ballot. And namely, the one we use every year with the special assessment improvement bonds, that's an exception to holding an election. Well, we were looking for another exception to the election rule, and with Ellers and Associates, our bond advisor, we found tax abatement bonds as a viable option to finance about 750,000 of improvements that can't be covered by our typical bonding proceeds. It's a little bit different, tax abatement bonds. There's a different process to it, namely setting the public hearing, which we're asking tonight for you to set that public hearing for May 25th. But we also have to identify properties for which we're technically going to abate city taxes only. We're not talking county or school, but we're technically going to abate city taxes and then use those tax dollars from those properties to pay the bonds on the new debt. Nick Anhut will be there at the public hearing on the 25th, and we'll go into the process in much more detail. But the key to this is that even though we're abating a property's city taxes, they're still going to pay their full taxes. They're not receiving any benefit. They're paying the full amount that they normally would. This is simply just a mechanism for us to issue bonds and leverage basically against those properties that we're identifying. So with that said, the three projects, I guess I didn't name them, the three projects that couldn't be financed by any other bonding that we're doing this year are the pedestrian crossing at the Highway 7 and Montana Street, some sidewalk and trail improvements along Highway 7 East, and then the extension of the Jefferson Street from Washington Avenue through the current Econo Foods parking lot to First Avenue. So those three projects didn't generate any assessments, so unfortunately, we couldn't use the special assessment bonding tool. And then we also looked at the bonding that we're going to do for the police facility, the capital improvement bonds that we're going to be issuing. But unfortunately, we can't do roadway improvements with those types of bonds. So that's what led us to these tax abatement bonds. Now, we're a little bit familiar with tax abatement from the standpoint that we issued basically a business subsidy to Uponor Manufacturing here in the city a few years ago. And that's one use of tax abatement where we're providing a subsidy to a business. This is a totally different use of tax abatement that's allowed by cities through state statute to finance public improvements. So again, we'll go through that in much more detail at the public hearing. So with that said, are there any questions at this time?
Andy, isn't it kind of, when we talk about abatement, usually when a property owner pays their property taxes, it gets split out into the general pot and then it gets kind of spread out amongst the various different taxing agencies. What we're simply doing is collecting the city's portion of those abated properties, and it's essentially being earmarked for only one purpose, and that's to pay for those bonds of these improvements, where in general, you pay your taxes and it goes to pay for police service, fire service, all the various different. So that's why it's called an abatement in that sense. And I think, Annie, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I think that's kind of a quick summary of that project or of that process.
Right. Yeah, I think technically that's how you would look at it. You're using those city taxes from those abated properties for the debt service on the improvements. In reality, we're going to be issuing the bonds and using the bonds, using our debt levy to repay the debt service on the bonds. So it's just kind of, with Uponor, it's a little different. Uponor, we're collecting the money from Uponor, and then we're just giving it right back out of our general fund. And in order to do that, we have to increase our general fund tax levy by that same amount to make them that payment. So this is kind of similar in that we have to levy taxes through our debt tax levy to repay these bonds. There's really no money trading hands, or the taxpayers aren't getting a break. They're still paying their full amount, like you mentioned, Matt. It's just kind of a mechanism on our side to dedicate monies towards doing these improvement projects.
Is there a reason why we don't use these usually, or is it just because we don't have to? And does it affect our bond rating at all to use them?
It won't affect our bond rating. Typically, we generate enough assessments off of our special assessment bonds, and we've never had to really go this route before. But over the last couple of years, we've been really bumping up against that minimum assessment level. In fact, we did last year as well, but we only had a short little gap of, I think, 30,000 that we had to fund outside of our bond issuance. So I think this all kind of ties in with what Kent has been talking about over the last few years about our assessment rates, how we need to revisit them. And we had been giving those allocation credits, I guess, on the size of the road. Well, those are things we might have to look at. If our assessment levels aren't generating enough revenue to bond appropriately to finance all our costs, then we have to look at those, possibly looking at those assessment rates. Because the construction costs keep going up, but our assessment rates have stayed the same for many years.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Andy? Entertain a motion to approve the resolution.
I'll make a motion to approve that resolution, which is number 15302.
I'll second it.
Motion by Dave, second by Chad to approve resolution 15302. Any other discussion? Not, roll call. Dave?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
Chad?
Aye.
Brandon?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. 14, we have engineering services agreement with SRF Consulting Group Incorporated, South Grade Road and Dale Street intersection improvements.
And Council, we do have Kent who's joining our meeting electronically, so I think he'll address this agenda item.
Yep. Good evening, Council. This is simply an engineering services agreement with SRF, the same people that worked on the intersection improvements at both at Highway 15 and South Grade Road and the Cashwise entrance, mall entrance and South Grade Road. What we're asking them to do within the proposal that's within the packet is analyze the intersection at South Grade Road and Dale with respect to addressing the four-way stop there and the pedestrian movement needs. Obviously, I think that intersection could function better from a vehicular standpoint and also from a pedestrian bicyclist standpoint. So what we're asking SRF to do is analyze it from a roundabout, a potential roundabout, and generate a roundabout justification report, and then we'll make a decision whether that's a feasible option. This will then play into our final design efforts that city staff is just beginning to undertake for the 2023 Dale Street and Roberts Road reconstruction project. So with that, I would recommend approving this agreement with SRF. And if there's any questions, please proceed.
Yeah, does anybody have any questions for Kent? Entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to
agreement.
approve it.
I'll second.
Motion by Chad, second by Mary. Any other discussion? If not, roll call. Dave?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
Chad?
Aye.
Brandon?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Right, thank you.
Hey, Kent, are you sticking around?
Yeah, I can stick around for sure.
Okay, all right. Number 15, setting council workshop for May 11th, 2021 at 4 p.m. with Historic Hutch.
Mayor and council, I was approached by Jim Fahey from Historic Hutch asking to kind of have a workshop with the city council. Obviously with, I think it's been several years since they've been given a presentation to the city council. I know with obviously Brandon being new on board and maybe even Dave to a certain extent, they'd like to kind of come and give an update a little bit about, what they do, some of their background, some of the work that they've been involved in within the city of Hutchinson. I think just kind of give a general overview of Historic Hutch and the different projects that they've taken on, the investment that they've made within the community. And so after a conversation, I know he'd like to do a bus tour of the community at some time. Obviously, we won't have enough time before a council meeting to do that. And I'd prefer that we maybe get a little bit further in the summer, and hopefully some of the restrictions regarding COVID will be off, but we'll probably look to do something like that later in the summer as well. So, but unless you have any questions, I'd ask that you consider setting that special workshop meeting.
I'll make a motion to set that meeting.
I will.
Motion by Chad, second by Mary to set the workshop for May 11th with Historic Hutch. Any other discussion? If not, roll call. Dave?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
Chad?
Aye.
Brandon?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. All right, 15.5, resolution number 15307, a resolution requiring all council members to wear a mask at all council functions.
Well, Mayor and council, this came at the request of Councilmember Szymowski, and so I wanted to bring it forward, I guess, for your conversation and discussion, for your consideration at tonight's council meeting. So this is really a discussion for you guys.
So this resolution really isn't going to change anything other than what we talked about before, and just kind of reiterate it. And it just stresses that if council people don't want to wear masks at meetings, that's totally fine. It's just they have to make arrangements to attend the meeting electronically, which is pretty much what we're doing right now. So I don't know that it really changes anything other than emphasizes it, that we're going to be masking and virtual until the mask mandate is over.
Protocol there.
Any other discussion?
Well, I think you got some, Brandon. What do you want?
I was just going to say the resolution itself indicates that it will remain in place until city council action is taken to withdraw such requirement, not that it ends with the governor's mandate.
Sure. So whenever the council wants to, we can make a motion and end it.
Yeah.
Brandon, with this, we can, when the governor, opens it up, we as a council have the power to make it more restrictive, not less. So this would be that when the governor calls it back, we would have to call it back to. Correct, Matt?
Correct. That's how the current resolution is written. So it would be an action of the council to withdraw that.
I guess I personally just don't find it necessary, especially if the preparedness plan that is already in place for the city already states and requires this kind of stuff. I just don't think it's, I don't know, necessary. And I mean, I disagree with a couple of the whereases as well, but we can get into that or not.
I guess personally, I just would more or less go when the governor calls it back. I would say that we just go along with what they have for requirements. That's my personal feeling, and actually had quite a few visits today from people talking about the mask mandate, that they're kind of hoping that the governor calls it back because they probably had enough with the mask thing. So
yeah, I hear you. Yeah, I hear you, and I agree. I think people are kind of waiting for that day. I don't know if it's coming, but like, you know, the requirement that all persons, including employees, customers, and visitors, wear face covering within city buildings. I mean, there's people there tonight attending council without face coverings. It's not been an issue, I don't think, and it's great that the city's practice is to allow that without any type of harassment or enforcement, in my opinion.
Clarification, what is the social distancing distance these days? I've had 3 foot thrown at me and I've had 6 foot thrown at me. What is it?
Still 6 feet.
Still 6 foot? Where'd the 3 foot come in at schools?
I think that's been recommendations and comments, but that's
Okay.
nothing that, at least not my kid's school, so.
I think it's not an enforced issue by police, being we're not going beyond the governor's mandate. Is that correct?
Regarding this social distancing?
No, on the enforcement. No, there's no enforcement within this resolution as long as we don't go beyond the governor's mandates.
No, there's no enforcement in the resolution. It's the state in the.
Yep, absolutely. The only thing that I would like to clarify from my particular part of it is, I noticed that you put in there has infected more than 565,000 and killed more than 7,000. If you look at the real stats, those are big stats, and I wish death on no one from that perspective. But if you look at the number of 565 compared to 5.6 million that we have in the state of Minnesota, that's 0.10089%. If you look at 7,000 deaths, and it's some over 7,000, so this number isn't totally accurate, but it's 0.00125. To me, those numbers mean a whole lot more when you have a 97.5% of recovery if you catch COVID, if you have it, or if you have had it. So typically, large numbers seem to scare people, and I'm not really all in favor of that. So if you want to look at large numbers, I think what we have to do is look at, I think there was the 565,000. Last year, there was over 600,000 deaths due to heart disease. There was over 600,000 that were due to cancer. And overall, there's going to be 2.6 million across the United States that are going to perish due to one shape, form, or another. So typically, I always think of, if you're gonna say something and back it up with something else, and typically when you look at the numbers in inverted, then typically we look at things in a different light. So I'm really I've had many conversations with elderly and young, and they all wish that the mask mandate would go away. And so I'm just gonna say that, and typically I guess I'll do what I've always done and stay within my my rights as a citizen. So from that, I have nothing else.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the resolution as presented.
I will second it, but I also want to say one thing. Cancer is not given to another person, and neither is heart disease. It's not something that's transmitted through the air. I'm just saying that. I'm not saying all the stats are right. We are all COVID tired. Every one of us is. We are all tired of wearing a mask and trying to be the best that we can. We want to protect others. So that's just my spiel on it. So I respect others for how they think, but they also have to respect my views too. I'll second that resolution.
Can I add one more thing? I mean, as part of the discussion, or as far as protecting people, I 100% agree. But I think, I don't think we're going to be, changing anybody's minds or opinions in regards to this. And I do think that we as a city council need to set a good example for the residents and demonstrate, just overall respect and understanding and love and kindness and unity, but also the ability to disagree and move on and still work together. As far as protecting people, just in light of the recent events in this community, a man in jail, a police officer hospitalized, and a local business, robbed at closing time. I just think it's time for us as the elected officials in this awesome city to just lead in that way and show that we can still work together and respect each other and understand and put aside our differences, because I don't think we should be in the business of trying to change each other's minds or enforce or require anything of anyone. And I think it would send a stronger message, a more robust and inclusive message to the general public to see something along those lines. Thanks.
Gary, you're muted, so.
Thanks, Matt. There's a motion by Chad, second by Mary to approve the resolution. Any other discussion? I just wanted just to add, I go out and do a lot of contact with everybody, and I do wear a mask when I do go out. When they come into my business, I wear a mask, but I don't think we need a resolution to put a stamp on it that we think that everybody should wear a mask. So that's just my 2 cents. Is there any other discussion? If not, I'll call a motion. Dave? Dave, you're muted.
Well, I'm not now. Nay.
Yep. Mary?
Aye.
Chad?
Aye.
Brandon?
Nay.
Nay. Motion does not pass. All right, moving on. We have governance. We have quarterly Public Arts Commission financial update. We have the 2021 snow removal annual report. We have the Hutchinson Housing and Redevelopment Authority board minutes from March 16th, 2021. Planning Commission minutes from March 16th, 2021. City of Hutchinson financial report and investment report for March 2021. Chief Gifferson, is Chief Gifferson still there?
He is.
Does he have anything for us tonight?
He does not.
All righty. Kent, are you still there?
He is.
Yep, right here.
Hey, Kent, I had a request for maybe putting a pedestrian crossing at McDonald Drive and School Road.
Yes.
One of the flashing pedestrian crossings. Is that something that you can look into?
Yeah, I think, did they express when the need is by chance, Gary? I know we've looked at that in the past and had conversations. I'm just curious when the need or when the pedestrian activity may or may not be, I guess. I don't know.
Well, I guess that he's got young kids, and he said that, you know, when they're out for walks, he said yeah, and I understand that is a busy road, so I can see where it could be a problem, and especially during school time, I would say, wouldn't you?
Yep. I think what we'll do, and actually what we had we had an engineering intern this last summer, and actually one of the exercises we had him do is a lot of these existing pedestrian crossings, and that one I believe is marked, or at least was marked at one time. I'm not sure what the status of the pavement markings are right now per se, but yeah, we'll take a look at that. I think, yeah, like I was just saying, we had him inventory all the crossings and then actually analyze them to some degree. I haven't had a chance to get back to it, but yeah, I think what I'm leading into is I think there's more of a comprehensive effort to be done by city staff to really analyze these uncontrolled marked crossings that exist, and maybe even some that aren't marked right now, and then figure out a policy or a uniform approach to address these. We don't want to get, the thing I'm weary of is we don't want to get into the habit of just adding a flasher system, you know, upon request per se. So I think we need to figure out some consistency, you know, continuity, an approach that we can stand behind. So, but I'll make note of this, and we'll keep working on that front.
All righty. He just asked me to bring it up, and I said that, you know, we have to look at it and make sure that it is, you know, a viable thing to put there. So yeah, I understand that, yeah, if we would put one where we're requested, we'd have them all over town real quick. So
exactly, that's what I'm wary of. But you know, we've seen this coming for some time. So like I said, we did do some legwork this last summer, and now we need to expand upon that to really get our approach going forward in place.
All righty. Thanks, Kent. Anybody else have anything for Kent?
I had a question, Kent. So on the corner of 5th and Main, by like Jim Fahey's house there's ped ramps to cross the highway, but it's not really a marked intersection. Did it used to be marked and got scraped away, or does MnDOT just not like having marked like painted crosswalks on state highways like that?
Yeah, I think what happened as part of the project last year is, I believe the south leg used to be marked. I don't think it was Jim's side. I think it was maybe the south side. I think
my memory, that's why I had it in my head, because I remember crossing it with my son, and then all of a sudden it wasn't marked, and I was wondering if it was purposely not marked or if it could get marked again, because a lot of people do cross there.
Yeah, I believe it was the south leg. I think what MnDOT's approach is, you know, they'll put ped ramps in, you know, even ped ramps without sidewalks per se, you'll see in some areas, you know, historically, without an adjacent pedestrian facility. Their argument is, per state law, that a pedestrian is, you know, they have the right to cross at an intersection, so they want to accommodate that with a ped ramp, albeit they don't want to put the striping across every intersection, whether it's line striping or zebra block crossings. So I think that's where they tried to eliminate as much as possible those markings, and it also plays into maintenance, I guess. You know, obviously, the less paint you have on the pavement, the less paint you have to maintain over time. So I believe that's what's happened. And we've taken somewhat the same approach, where we're only trying to mark trail crossings per se, and not mark, you know, every sidewalk crossing, every potential sidewalk crossing at every intersection. So, yeah, I think within the plans that were implemented last year, that's what happened.
Because I think what the problem with that is, though, like people don't think you have to stop unless it's a painted crosswalk, because I seem to remember people stopping there, pretty regularly, but now like nobody stops for you if you're crossing there. Not that I cross that intersection a ton, but when I do, it seems like nobody gives a crap that you're there, even if you stick your nose out a little bit.
Yeah, no, I hear you, Chad. I'll take a look at it and then I'll raise the question with MnDOT. I think that one is worthwhile to be painted and maintained. They might think otherwise, but we'll at least see what they say.
Yeah, it's just a long distance between lights, and if people need to cross Main Street, it's like a 7-block stretch where there's no protection of any kind.
Yep. Oh, I understand.
Thank you. That's all I had.
Yep.
Thanks, Kent.
No problem.
Does Mark have anything for us tonight, Matt?
Nothing else tonight.
Thought I'd forget about you again, didn't you? Yeah. Brandon, let's start with you tonight. Brandon, do you have anything for us?
Yeah, sorry, I couldn't get my button to work. All I want to say is I think it was the afternoon after our last council meeting, that whole incident, the Menards thing. But I just wanted to, and I think it's been, acknowledged publicly. I hope so, but just commend our police department and how that situation was handled. I know it made some serious headlines for, various reasons, but I think it was handled well. And I think God had his hand on that whole situation because it could have went even more sideways than it did. So praise God for that. And just a huge round of applause for our local police department. They do a fine job. Thanks.
Thanks, Brandon. Chad.
Yeah, I didn't have anything to add other than like what Brandon said. That's great that it didn't get worse than it was because it could have gone way more sideways than it did. I think one of the things that nobody noted, though, is it was the officer's birthday that got hit in the head. And I can't think of a much crappier birthday present than getting cracked in the head with a hammer as you're getting drugged down the highway in that instance. So I'm just glad to hear that he's doing fine, like not fine, but as good as he can be after the incident. And, like earlier in the week, I joked, but it wasn't funny, like with Matt, that I'm just glad that we're not running Brooklyn Center that after their incident down there. And then we had a very similar incident that didn't go quite as sideways. So just thankful for all of our HPD and the danger that they put their lives in every day. And hopefully the officer involved is doing better and he has brighter days ahead because he's had a rough year, it sounds like.
Thanks, Chad. Mary.
Well, I can just reiterate what both Brandon and Chad said. Thank you to our PD for keeping us and our city safe and our citizens. Also, I have noticed that people are starting to mow their lawns. So just a little heads up, we don't throw that grass into the street. We keep it in our own yard. And that's it.
Mary, evidently you must have talked to Bill lately, huh?
That would be tree watering. Bill, it was only tree watering, so.
Yeah. All right, thanks, Mary. Dave, what do you have?
Really nothing more. It was a great council meeting and a great discussion. So appreciate that. And that's all I got. Thank you.
Thanks, Dave.
Here, it's always John Paulson that's talking about the grass clippings. So Paulson's your guy.
Oh, okay. Man.
Actually, I don't really have anything for the council tonight. So I know, I'm surprised. So.
Well, I tell you what, I was born and raised in Hutchinson, and even though that, everybody talks up their hometown, I think that we have one of the best communities around. I'm thankful for our police department, our EMTs and everybody, fire department and, you know, police department, and our city staff. I think everybody does a great job. And just, I know most of the time that when people come in, it's something to complain about because there's hardly ever any time that people come in to tell you that you do a good job. But I'm one here to say that I think Hutchinson's one of the greatest cities around, and I thank everybody for making it that way. With that, entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
I know, madam, I'm muted. Okay. Motion by Dave, second by Brandon to adjourn. Roll call. Dave?
Aye.
Mary? Chad?
Aye.
Brandon?
Aye.
Aye. We're adjourned. Thanks, everyone.